and
False news has become all too common on social media. First, unfortunately, some members of the community push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think, and this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
Yo, folks, we're back. And we're here talking about Tucker Carlson having himself an amazing interview with the Teamsters president, Sean Obrien. And this was after the election, and he was discussing his experience with both the RNC and the DNC. And he had discussed how his members, they were concerned and their thoughts. So it's going to be a good one. So let's get started.
So we represent 1.3 million members. The easiest way to understand it is we represent airline pilots to zookeepers and everybody in between. We represent UPS as our largest employer. We have 340,000 members at UPS. We represent the grocery industry, warehousing. We represent airline pilots. We represent airline mechanics. We represent motion picture. We represent trade shows. We represent public sector. We represent healthcare. So we represent everybody from A to Z.
So the name comes from guys you drove teams of horses.
Yeah, teams of horses. We were predominantly a truck driving union.
Yes.
Started out with horse and buggy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, all right. Personally, I never understood the name Teamsters myself. Reason why it hits home is because my father was actually a Teamster. And he'd been a Teamster for many years in the airline industry. And this was a little bit of an educational moment here for me. It's also amazing to me as the number of members that this organization represents. And it's no wonder why they're sought after with regards to political groups for their support. And why wouldn't any political group want to have the support of these many members? And it's no doubt a powerful organization. So what's up next, though, is Sean discussing his experience he had that with both the RNC, actually with the RNC, and the speech that he was going to be giving. And I got to admit, this is classic.
But, you know, I got to tell you this. It's funny. So leading up to the RNC, we're writing our speech and we're going through it. And, you know, we're editing it internally, all of us. Great team. And we submit it to the RNC, the folks. I think we submitted probably a week prior. And we submit the speech. And some of the underlings in the RNC didn't like what we had to say.
I bet.
And so they wanted to change it and modify it and everything else. And we took a position. I took a position. Well, I'm not going then.
That's the way, right there.
So we reached out to Susie Wiles and told her, look, we are not modifying this speech. And she's like, I don't think you should. She says, why don't you call DJT and tell him? So I called him on his cell phone. And I said, listen, they want us to modify this speech. He goes, I haven't seen it. He goes, I don't give a shit what you say. Do whatever you want, Sean.
Oh, come on.
So 100% true.
I love it.
Oh, I believe
So when we went there, I mean, obviously we were there.
I can hear him saying that.
Yeah. So he's like, actually said, say whatever the fuck you want to say. That's exactly what he said.
All right.
And when we went there, it was great. It was a home run. And I think, you know, part of the thought process from the Republican side was, look, if we get the general president of the biggest, strongest union in the country, that's going to signal to every working person that how committed, the Republican Party is, the opportunity the Republican Party has to prove that they want to represent American workers. Listen to them.
It's just, I mean, that is a window into what Trump is actually like.
Yes, it is absolutely an eye-opening experience. Not just the fact that Trump is the way he is, as much as the conversations that happen behind closed doors. We never get to hear the ideas as to how they're actually spoken, and nobody here got time to waste, and they get straight to the point, and they make it very clear as to the situation, and basically, you got to make it happen. Bottom line.
We interviewed every single candidate that from, the people that entered the race early to the last two standing, which was Trump and Harris. And we interviewed them at a round table with rank and file members in our general executive board. And we provided each candidate with 16 of the same questions. And, the Trump was, like all of them, they weren't strong on some of our issues, and no fault of their own, because I don't think deep down they understood what our actual issues are. But at the end of the day, I think he knew that by us representing, speaking at the RNC, representing the Teamsters Union, that he was actually showing America, the American workers, that, he was for labor, he was for working people. And my message was clear. You were there. I saw you standing up with him. And my message didn't endorse the Republicans, Democrats, or independents. It was clearly about what the American worker needs from the administration.
I just couldn't believe they let you do that.
Yeah, you know what's funny?
It's a political convention. The whole point is to nominate this guy.
Yeah, exactly. Tucker made it clear. You know what? Bottom line is that there was no plain favorites there. Everybody's on a level playing field, being asked the same questions. Again, no favoritism. It's all about what the American workers need, which is what's important.
Yeah, it was hilarious. But conversely, we asked to go to the DNC at the same time. And and we know that if we ever submitted that speech to the DNC, they would have shit a brick. They would have been horrified, because the people that we were talking about, the corporate elitists and everybody else, those are the people that the Democrats have fallen in love with. Those are the people they serve instead of the middle class the way it used to be 50 years ago.
Yeah.
So we know that we would have got tremendous pushback.
Did you go? I'm sorry, I don't even know. Did you go to the Democratic?
No, we didn't get invited.
That is great. That's even a bigger story than speaking at the RNC, is not getting invited to the DNC.
Yeah, well, that was the vindictive side of the Democratic Party. And I'm a Democrat, but I'm gonna call balls and strikes. They haven't done shit for us.
Exactly. Sean's saying the quiet part out loud. You gotta love it. And the fact is that the Democrats are in bed with the corporate elites. These are the people with the money that funded Kamala's $2.5 billion campaign. And Kamala did not depend on donations from the working class. Do you think that she would have been able to fund or raise that kind of funding, that much money through $20 donations from the average Joe that quickly? It's obvious that much money was raised overnight, and it was not the middle class working folks that they got the money from. It was the elite. Man, it's sad. Well, the leader of the Teamsters Union here, a diehard Democrat, made it very clear as to the fact that the Democratic Party hasn't done shit for them, and that's all. That says it all right there. That's for sure.
And look, the one thing that we do, and this is a gauge that I pride our leadership on, we don't sit in our office and research all these polls, research, all these opinions. The opinions that matter to me are the 1.3 million members that we represent. My general secretary and treasurer are out every single day in workplaces, talking to members, asking them their opinions, find out exactly what their struggles are in the workplace. Yeah. And then you get always into politics, this presidential election. And just the one-on-one conversations. We're in 3 different states 3 times a week and multiple industries that we represent. And when you're talking to people, we weren't just talking to people in blue states. We were talking to people in red states all over the country. And we knew just from, the rhetoric out there from our members that, they weren't voting Democrat. And that's when we started designing this, real extensive program, and that included the rank and file members. So we knew that was coming.
Yep, exactly. Sean made it very, very clear as to the fact that boots on the ground is where he gets his information from, directly from the people. He reached out to his contingency and to see what the rank and file are feeling. He understood that the change in the tides, because he was a victim of it himself. The arrogance of the DNC is truly what's changing the political climate today. That's for sure.
The Democrats are trying to court us to endorse Joe Biden in January, right? And Joe Biden's been a good president for us, Labor. Has he done everything we wanted? No, absolutely not. Again, you get into, we fixed your pension. Great, thank you. Your first order of business, you shut down oil drilling, you shut down pipelines. I got 7,000 members that lost their jobs immediately, Keystone, right?
Wow.
So, you know, I started pointing out some of that stuff to them, which I was quiet about in the beginning. But, you know, you're out there jockeying for our support. And they want us to endorse Biden in January. All of Labor did. And I'm like, no, we're not doing that. We've got to talk to our members. We're going to make sure where our members are at. So we go through this whole winter getting pressure from, you know, people in the Democratic Party. And we stayed the course. Nope, we're not. We want to interview the candidates, which we've never done before. And we asked every single candidate in January or December to come in and meet with us. The first person to respond was Donald Trump. I'll be in there, definitely, without a doubt. And all these other candidates, RFK right away, Asa Hutchinson, Cornel West, all of them, they came right in. Same format, same questioning like we talked about earlier. And the struggle was getting Biden in here. He didn't like the fact that Trump committed early, or the Democrats didn't like that he committed early. So long story short, we go through this whole process and we have Biden in there, and, you know, you could just clearly tell he was, you know, not the man he was. And it was kind of sad, you know, because it's sad because you look at it and I think generally, you know, a nice older man, nice older gentleman, right? And what they were doing to him, the Democratic Party, it would kind of look like elderly abuse to me.
Yes.
Yep.
And, you know, we knew we weren't going to go with him. And then after the first debate.
Wait, but so in your meeting with him, it was obvious that he
it was. So we give 16 questions 2 weeks in advance, the same 16 questions to each candidate. So, you know, RFK answered all 16 questions. Probably most of them didn't answer them how we would like them to answer them, but they answered them. Joe Biden came in and he answered 5 of them. Donald Trump answered all 16. And then when Biden drops out of the race, but prior to Biden dropping out of the race, he's in the race around June or May. One of my vice presidents, a woman named Joan Corey out of my local, she sits on our general executive board, was at an event with Vice President Harris. And, you know, they're going through the line to get the picture, and Joan introduces herself to Vice President Harris, says, "I'm Joan Corey. I'm on the general executive board for the Teamsters." She goes, "Teamsters? You better get on board.
What?
You better get on board. Better get on board soon."
What?
Says it to my vice president.
To her face?
To her face. So she comes back. We have the meeting the next day.
Damn.
And she tells me
I
this.
thought I was arrogant. That's really arrogant.
So she
Gotta
tells
love
me
that.
this. So I call up Marty Walsh. He wasn't the Secretary of Labor, but, you know, he was pushing hard for us to make the endorsement. I'm like, let me ask you a question, Marty. Excuse my French. Who does this fucking lady think she is?
Wow.
Like, if I want to support from any organization, I am not going to point my finger in someone's face and say, you better get on board or else.
Yep.
But that's the attitude of this
Arrogant
whole
attitude.
party. So fast forward, she finally agrees to come after we were putting pressure on her, you know, basically, because I was doing interviews all over the place saying, we haven't got invited to the DNC. You know, they haven't accepted our invitation for her to come to a roundtable. So she comes to the roundtable. Same format, same questions. Rank and file members are asking her questions just like they asked every other candidate. And they were trying to negotiate with us. She only wants to answer 3 questions. We're like, there's 16 questions here. So she answers 3 of them. And on the 4th question, one of her operatives or one of her staff slips a note in front of me. This will be the last question. And it was 20 minutes earlier than the time that it was going to end.
Come on.
100%.
That
And
is
so,
ridiculous.
You know, you're there trying to get our support. And her declaration on the way out was, I'm going to win with you or without you.
She thought that or said it out loud?
She said it out loud.
That's insane.
That is insane. You know what's insane is the fact that, you know, the Democratic administration under Biden, 7,000 members of the union lost their jobs in day one with the close of that pipeline. 7,000 members. So no matter what, this came down to being a matter of members making choices, not the leadership alone. I'm really digging this guy, Sean, here. And by the way, it's sad how he points out that Biden's decline and how apparent it was. So, and also interesting how he addresses it as being elderly abuse, which is true. The question is, who is really running this country, though? Is it his wife or what? But no matter what, Kamala was not elected to represent the Democrats, but somehow she's got herself one arrogant attitude, and if you think about it, that is the reason why she's got this arrogant attitude, because things have been handed to her. Same way that she got her jobs out in California by sleeping her way to the top with the former mayor, Willie Brown. So, things have been handed to her. She's never had to work for them. So this arrogant attitude, it's amazing, and it sure as hell is not a surprise to me that she's got it. But think about it. She did not go through the democratic process of being elected to represent the Democrats. And if it had gone up to vote, she most likely would have lost again. And on top of that, she ends up somehow on the top of the ticket, the Democratic ticket. It's just ridiculous how this all worked out.
So
that's crazy behavior, actually, if you think about it.
It was insane behavior, which at that point in time, I knew she was going to lose. Me, that's just my unqualified opinion. I got a gut instinct, and I'm like,
well, you turned out to be right.
Someone this arrogant.
Thank God.
Forget anything else, but you put your finger in someone's face at an Emily's List event once you find out they're with the Teamsters, and you say, you better get on board or else. That's a problem. And then you come before us, you don't answer the question, you want to dictate what you're going to answer, and then you leave 20 minutes before it's over. And
wow.
The one difference between all the candidates that came was that at the conclusion of all these roundtables, we had media set up. So after conclusion of meeting with Trump, I did a press conference down in the lobby of my building. Well, Donald Trump did a press conference down in the lobby of my building after he spoke. The same offer was extended to both President Biden and Vice President Harris, and they refused.
Wow.
So you're meeting with the biggest labor organization that you want, and you've got an opportunity for media to question you about how you felt the meeting went and what you wanted to achieve, and you don't want to speak to the media. That's a problem. But Trump, to his credit, in our building, in our foyer, had a press conference.
Yeah, of course Trump had a press conference. He wouldn't back down, and he's not afraid to answer the tough questions either. And it's extremely obvious that it was appreciated by Sean. And he got to learn to love Trump and understood that even though Trump's a Republican, he may not be aware of everything that the Teamsters want. He's willing to listen, which is huge, and something that the Democrats are not willing to do.
So you're describing the way like a rich person would talk to the housekeeper, like, how dare you question me?
Right.
You work for me.
Right. They don't realize that, and I've said this numerous times, when I'm talking to a member, whoever that member may be, regardless of race, religion, color, creed, I know that they give me the opportunity to represent them, and they employ me.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right? And I've said this many times. The Democrats can understand who they work for.
Yes.
They work for the constituency that they represent in their communities.
Exactly.
And that's where they've lost sight of who their employer is. They think that the constituency should serve them.
Exactly.
And it's disgraceful.
And that was an amazing interview. It just shows the arrogance and how out of touch the Democrats are with the working class folks. The DNC is for the rich elites who fund candidates like Harris. They've got deep pockets, so they know what they want, and they want a puppet. They got one with Biden. They would have had one with Harris. Thank God that she lost. And now it's a sad situation, but one that's not going to go away anytime soon. That's for sure. So, folks, thank you all for listening and for making it this far. Please do me a favor, like, subscribe, and share this video with others. Let people understand exactly what's going on out there. And as always, share the peace, love, and knowledge. Shoots.